Chris Winkler was born in 1963 and participated in nearly every youth sport as a young boy. But when he began swimming competitively at the age of 6 is when others realized that Chris Winkler was going to be an extraordinary athlete.
Well, what I remember about Chris, he was always fast, was a big kid, and he was very coordinated. And he loves to win. He loved coming in first. And so from day one, he was a competitor.
He won countless meets for the Max Swim Club over almost a decade while setting several records, most of which weren't broken for over 20 years, as well as achieving one of the nation's best times in the 200 medley relay for his age group.
I think he was my best swimmer. Yeah, he was one of my better swimmers. He was about the best in the state.
Winkler was also standing out in other sports as well, made evident by being a Little League All-Star in baseball, along with a punt, pass, and kick champion in football. His skills on the football field only improved each year from his time on the Mac High varsity team beginning as a sophomore in 1978. Playing quarterback and defensive end, Chris used his intellect and quickness to help lead the Grizzlies to 2 winning seasons despite injuries to key players and a tough league. He ended his football career by achieving the Junior MVP award and Team MVP as a senior, as well as being selected to the All-League First Team and All-State All-Star Shrine Team.
He had tremendous quickness as far as being able to move, and he was a person that if you said, do this, he did it a little bit better than you asked him to do. Therefore, calling plays was nothing for him. He would come off the field and he'd say, Coach, this looks like this might go. So either we'd run it by Coach maybe, or I'd just say, go ahead and do it because of his natural abilities. And every kid on the team respected him because of his athletic prowess on the field.
His unmatched athleticism and hand-eye coordination served him well in baseball, as Chris was again on the varsity team all 3 years. He started at center field, but was the team's top pitcher as a senior, along with earning All-League First Team selection and the team's MVP award, while batting over 300 and leading the Bears to a career league record of 23 wins and 19 losses, which almost qualified them for the state playoffs in 2 of the 3 years.
If he had wanted to, he was a Division I baseball player also.
If he would have stuck with baseball, he probably would have been able to play at the professional level. I'm not talking necessarily about the major leagues right now, but he had the skills, the arm, the speed, he could hit, had all the things that go with what it takes to play at that level.
As a sophomore in the winter of 1978, Winkler had to make a tough choice between swimming and basketball. Until then, he was able to work out his schedule so that he could excel in all 4 sports instead of just 3, but playing at the varsity level was a full season commitment. Chris chose to leave swimming behind and continue basketball, and as the team's top bench player in his first year, he helped the Grizzlies go undefeated and claim their first ever state championship.
He had what you call the picture jump shot. I mean, it was, right up here. I mean, everybody I teach, I try to, I always think, oh geez, if they could just have a Winkler type jump shot. Chris was a talented kid, good legs, could really jump. He shot the ball right at the top, and he was a classic jump shooter for that day and age.
He was really, really athletic. He was able to go up in a crowd, shoot over the top of people. People in basketball who are termed quick jumpers. Chris was a quick jumper that he could get up off the floor immediately.
The team set a record for most wins without a loss with 27, and by winning their first 12 in Winkler's junior year, they set another state record with 39 straight wins, which still stands to this day. The Bears once again won the league championship as they finished the season with a 21-3 record. 2 of those 3 losses came in the state tournament when the number 1 ranked Bears were unfortunately upset by the team they beat in the championship game the season before. Chris flourished as a starting guard that year as he earned an All-League and All-State First Team selection, along with being invited to play in the Basketball Congress International Tournament in Provo, Utah that summer. While representing the Oregon All-Stars, Winkler led the team in field goal percentage and earned the Defensive MVP award as Oregon took 3rd place.
He was a great defensive player, and I always remember Nick Robertson telling me when Chris was a freshman, we went over and watched a freshman basketball game. He watched 3 minutes and he turned and said, he's going to be as good a defensive player as I've ever had because he could move his feet side to side so quickly. He was, he was a 6'3", 180-pound guy that was really, really quick and ran effortlessly.
As I think about all the what I would call shooting guards or wings I've had in my lifetime, he was a very fine defender and a great jump shooter. He played before the 3-point shot. He didn't really get a chance to, we didn't work on a set shot for him or anything out that far. Just a guy that always added something to the team. He was a light-hearted kid that that always kept things loose. I think that's what I appreciated about him the most. You know, we had a lot of pressure on us in the days that he played there, and he was always with that smile and ready to go. You know, he had a great career at McMinnville, really.
The following year, Chris fully inherited the team after graduation of the National Player of the Year, Charlie Sitton, to OSU. In a season that began full of uncertainty, Winkler proved that Mac High basketball was still a force to be reckoned with. The senior captain made big plays and hit clutch shots while leading the team in points, assists, field goal, and free throw percentage, while pulling down 7 rebounds per game and winning 22 out of 26 games, including a flawless 14-0 league mark. After being chosen as the team's MVP, his great play continued in the state tournament, where the Bears went 2-2 and finished in 6th place. For his inspired performance, Chris was recognized by being chosen onto the All-League, All-Metro, All-State, and All-Tournament first teams, along with the McDonald's All-American selection.
He's probably one of the most positive kids I've ever coached. His attitude always rubbed off on the other players. You know, he played on teams with strong personalities, with Charlie, and he got to play on some great teams, but he also was a leader in his own way. And he wasn't just a basketball player, you know, he's a very fine 3-sport athlete.
As an amazing high school basketball career ended, which included 3 league championships, 1 state championship, and a career winning percentage of over 90%, another one began as Chris accepted a full athletic scholarship to compete on the court for Washington State University. So after graduating from McMinnville in 1981 as the student body president, male athlete of the year, and Oregon Scholar Athlete of the Year, Winkler went to Washington State to become a Cougar while majoring in chemical engineering with a minor in math. Playing behind 3 senior guards, Chris saw little time appearing in 15 games as a freshman, while the team went 16-14 to take 5th in the conference. He acquired valuable experience playing in the Pac-10, and in the following season, it truly showed, as Chris earned the spot of starting combo guard, which meant he filled in at both the point and scoring positions, and he would never give up his starting spot. Playing alongside future NBA journeyman Craig Elo, Chris and the Cougars blossomed into the conference's second-best team while boosting their record to 23-7 overall.
Having lived with Chris, I got to know Chris very well. He was a great student. He took his studies seriously. When I was over on my bed goofing around looking at the TV or something, Chris was always studying. And those habits were the same thing on the floor for him. We were in the gym constantly together, working on shooting, rebounding for each other, chasing each other around on one-on-one games. So Chris' work ethic was very, very good, and I was impressed because he could have just, packed his tent and gave up after his freshman year, having not played that many games. But he stuck with it. He knew he was confident in himself, and having played with him and practiced with him all those days, I was gaining confidence in him too.
Voted as the team's most improved player that season, Winkler came up big for Wazoo on countless occasions, scoring 20 points in 24 minutes against Montana State, making the game-winning free throws at Oregon, and stealing and scoring against Washington in the final seconds of a double overtime game for the win, just to name a few. After beating UCLA at the buzzer in the Pac-10 championships, their trend of winning close games continued into the NCAA tournament as the Cougars upset their first-round opponents from Weber State. In the second round, Virginia's 7'4" Ralph Sampson blocked 4 shots and Wazoo's advancement into the Sweet 16. Regardless of the loss, the school still recognizes this 1983 team as one of the best they've ever had, winning more games than any other in over 40 years. Even though the Cougars' success would not be the same in the following 2 seasons, Chris continued to elevate his game by leading the team in free throw percentage, while being second in scoring and third in assists. In a 10-game stretch, he scored in double figures 9 times, with a season high of 19 coming against the University of Oregon. He shot almost 50% from the field while pulling down over 2 rebounds and stealing the ball once per game to finish off a great junior year. He would unfortunately have to redshirt the following season due to a broken collarbone he obtained after only playing in 6 games. Not allowing his collegiate career to come to a premature end, Winkler worked hard to rehab and replicate his previous play now as a 5th-year senior. The team captain once again averaged double figures in scoring while leading the team back to respectability with a .500 record. In fact, leadership had perhaps become the best facet of his game, as Chris took it upon himself to mentor the younger players in order to prepare him and the university for the future.
I talked to Raveling a lot. He was a good friend, and he said, Wink was one of the great locker room guys. I mean, he could keep everybody up. You don't win all your games in the Pac-10, and they had great teams at that time, but certainly somebody had to get them fired up the next day. And Wink had a real way of coming back after adversity and playing well. And I think his leadership was always by, hey, look at me, great attitude, I'm always working hard, I don't think, he's one of 2 guys I know that I coached over the years that you would say he's never had looking at him, you say he's never had a bad day, you know. So I think that's probably the way I would describe Chris Winkler, as a guy that's never had a bad day.
In essence, Chris has been coaching ever since his graduation from Washington State, even though he was recruited to play professionally in Europe.
I think the thing that distinguished Chris, now and then you'll have little alumni tournaments or all-star games for older guys, and he still has good legs. I mean, he can still move a little bit. You know. Most guys get over 40 and they can't move at all, you know. So he always had the good young legs, really did. Not many guys could stop on a dime like he could and go straight up.
He now lives in Beaverton and has been coaching basketball for the last 18 years, 7 of which as a co-founder of McMinnville's State Champ Hoop Camp, which has raised over $15,000 for MHS basketball.
I've watched his teams play, and they have good purpose, and they play defense hard like he liked to. He's not a guy screaming at anybody. That would not be his style. I think kids really love to play for him.
I've watched his teams play, and when he coaches, he has fun. He still has that nice smile on his face. He's always been a very good competitor, but he's always kept things in perspective. He competes hard, he has fun while he's doing it. It's not a war. When the game's over, the game's over. And I don't think that's ever changed since when he was about 9 years old. I saw him play for the first time. And when I watched him play in college, he was still the same as he was as a 9-year-old, a kid that really, really had fun while he played.
The main thing that sets Winkler apart was athletic ability, but his great attitude. That was always the same every day and is still the same today. So, you know, you put that combination together and you've got a great person. You know, he ends up giving back now as a coach. I mean, you don't coach for money, you know.
He still competes on the hardwood in various City League tournaments to this day, and along with participating in several marathons and triathlons, one of McMinnville's best all-around athletes is not showing any signs of slowing down.